Welcome back. I hope you're getting acquainted with how user experience keeps our users in mind and helps in applying human-centered design strategies like empathy maps to understand our users' issues and needs. In this video, we're going to take steps to improve our observation skills through observing a user interact with a website, defining interaction moments and recording issues, curious moments, or oddities in their process, and building out user flows to capture the experience we observed. So let's get moving on these web design fundamentals. Take out a piece of paper or something to take notes on, as we're going to observe a user interact with a website. Using notes to observe our user, we're going to think about what actions they're taking, and we're going to take notes on where they go, if they get stuck, and what they interact with, etc. Before we start the observation, keep a few things in mind. We want to record notes about all the major actions taken by our user. If they click on a tab, where does it take them? If they roll over a navigation, what happens? If they go forward or backwards from screen to screen, why do they do it? The goal is to help us observe potential pitfalls in the website and what is working and not working based on our observation. We'll be watching for where the mouse travels. Watch for areas of pause in the mouse or retracing of steps. Look for repeats and quick decisions. We will be watching a user's mouse only in the interactions with a website. So we are trying to address and uncover issues or problems with any interactions. Are you ready? Great. Let's start watching. The observation will be about 2 minutes and 30 seconds of a website interaction. This is a pre-recorded set of interactions, and many user testing process should be some sort of capturing of a user and interactions. If you need to rewind and watch over, please do, but take notes as you watch the user interact with the website. Did you pay attention? Interesting, right? So let's review our observation list. Does it capture all the steps our user engaged in? Does it record all the major interactions and stuff that the user engaged in? If not, you can go back and watch again. The goal is to get all of the actions the user took during our observations. And we're going to take a deeper dive into what they mean and how to map them out. Now that you've finished observing, write down what you think the user should have accomplished during their time on the website. Was there anything you observed that felt problematic or confusing? Take a look at your observation list. Was there any point during the interaction that you thought the user should have completed but didn't? During our observation, our user attempted to purchase a notebook and got nearly through the process before quitting and exiting the site. The exit of our user from the purchase process demonstrates a problematic failure that we identified through our observations. We also identified that the user wants to view the content at different sizes on the monitor and drags the corner down to the mobile size. This may have been the user testing to see if the website would work on their mobile device. Unfortunately, the site was not built on a responsive framework, so the content did not resize or reposition as the screen becomes smaller. We also observed some interesting things in our notes, but let's take a step deeper and capture an interaction flow for how and where we observed our user and where they go off the rails. You may go back to the observation and watch again, but let's start by retracing the steps of the website we observed. So go to www.theghostyStore.com. Take a look at our observation list. During this process, we're going to be screen capturing every point along the path of what we observed of our users. The user starts at the home page, so screenshot that. Then they go to the carousel change, then the drop-down, navigation. Each section, make sure to screen capture each of those. The clothing section, screen capture that. The clothing, smaller screen. The action method, the action pad, the enlarge image action pad, the add to cart modal, the add to the cart experience, and then the checkout. You should screen capture all of these sections of the website. Did you get all those? Great. Now we have images and a still frame capture of the path our user took throughout the site that we observed. Next, we're going to lay out these screen captures into a screen flow to capture an overview of our user's experience. Once you have captured all these screens, you might be asking yourself, why are we doing this? We are growing our empathy for our user, just like our empathy maps. Observing a user interact helps us hone in on building them a better experience. When trying to understand a user through observing them, you need to give yourself visuals for how their experience was while using a website. The screen grabs you have taken are going to be assembled into a screen flow that will help you map when and where your user becomes lost or loses interest. Open up Adobe Illustrator or any other similar program that can lay out some photos and organize content. Create a new document. Select the web at 1024 by 768, though we will be modifying the document size at will. The document size is irrelevant as the goal is to build a way to see the experience as a sequence. Since we're going to be using this multiple times, select the layer panel and add 3 layers. The labels should be 1. Screen grabs, 2. The labels, and 3. Annotations. That's what we refer to as notes. Select the artboard tool and make your artboard 10,024 pixels by 7,680 pixels to enlarge the size but keeping the aspect ratio the same for printing and sharing. Next, let's place our screenshots on the document. Make sure the screenshot layer is selected and place all your screens that you captured from before. Next, we're going to organize these screenshots into a couple rows. Once the Align tool is open through the option dropdown, you can select the screens and move them into the upper left corner of the artboard. Take the last screenshot in the selection and drag it to the upper right. Now you can use the Align tool to distribute a selection of those artboards and screenshots that we just placed in our document. Now let's align them to the top and distribute them so they're evenly spaced. You can repeat these steps for all of the screenshots that you've captured to make sure that you have a nice, even grid that maps out your user's experience and is in the order that we captured the process. Great. Your screenshots should look something like this. Next, we're going to go and include some screen labels to give us an overview of what we observed and how we can then explain the experience. Select the labels layer and then select the type tool. Click and drag a type tool box above the screenshot in the upper left the upper left corner of the artboard. Using the type tool, select the type box and add the label of homepage landing page. Using the selection tool, hold down the Option and Shift button, and you can copy and drag the type box across the top. Do this and label each screenshot for all of the pages that we captured in the experience through our screenshots. These should be titles for all the pages. Good. Now select all the type boxes and drag and Option Shift drag down to include them for above every screenshot that's on the page. You should have a label, the same label for every screenshot, so go through and modify each label to match the screenshot below, like this. Great. Now we're starting to get all of the screens on there and labeled. Now, let's go capture some moments that we experienced and observed. Select the annotations layer. Selecting the pen tool, let's capture some instances in our ScreenFlow where a user made selections that took them from page to page. Click over to the navigating button, and drag to the next screen. So using the pen tool, you can kind of draw lines between where the user interacted with the screen and where it took them. Using a stroke, let's modify it and make sure that you can see it, and let's change the color to magenta so it's very clear on the artboard. Next, we can take that line that we've just created and change the terminuses of the line to having a circle of where you touch and an arrow for where it ends. Do the same for all the places on the screen where the user made a selection. They touched a button or they hit a navigation piece, at all the places that are there. We're starting to map out and give this document an overview of the web journey and the experience that we observed previously. Now we're going to identify some of the problem areas and issues observed during the preview of our user experience. Again, select back into the annotations layer. Using the type tool, add some areas where the user did something confusing based on your observations. So that could be when they make the monitor smaller to check the responsiveness. That could have been not leaving the experience at the end. That could have been going back and forth between pages. Any place you thought there was something weird in the experience, add some type and describe what that experience was, and then change that type color to red to indicate that it becomes an issue in the experience. Now we're starting to get our experience mapped out. You should review your ScreenFlow, and it should have labels for each screen, arrows for interactions and flow between those screens that we observed, and annotations that call out any of the problems that we observed during our observation. The ScreenFlow allows us to have a bird's eye view of the experience of our users. We are beginning to understand where and potentially why our user made mistakes and where they had issues during their experience of using the ghostlystore.com. By observing and mapping out their experience through a ScreenFlow, we are walking through the experiences ourselves. And it builds out our empathy for our user that allows us to overview their experience and then create and communicate where and when they experienced issues. Up next, we're going to discuss intervention planning. See you there.